up, come to the show. We got some things we can talk about. Chop it up, chop it, chop it, chop it, chop it up, chop it. We got some things we could talk about. Chop it up, chop it, chop it, chop it up, chop it up, chop it. We got some things we could talk about. Come to the show. We about to chop it up. Come to the show. We got some things we could talk about. Come to the show. We about to chop it up. Come to the show. We got some things we could talk about. Chop it up. Chop it. Chop it. Chop it. Chop it up. Chop it. We got some things we could talk about. Chop it up. Chop it. Chop it. Chop it up. Chop it up. Chop it. We got some things we could talk about.
Good evening and welcome to the Chop Shop. I'm your host, Pastor Marvin McKenstry Jr. Always again excited for the privilege that God gives us to bring you the Chop Shop. We have another Power Pack show for you today. The first thing I need you to do is to like, love, and share this broadcast because we've brought back two people who generated so much of a request that they do a sequel to the previous conversation that we did, that we had to bring them back. That's the one and only DrKevin Daniels and Minister Carlos Muhammad. We also have a very special guest with us tonight. She is a published author, and she's talking about winning. Listen, y'all, this race is not given to the swift, neither the battle to the strong, but it takes some endurance, and we need all the help we can get. And this young lady is giving us some tips on how we can win. We're going to get to that, but before we do, I got to bring on the screen my right hand and my left hand, my main man, Mr. Shaka Pitts, one of the toughest and strongest black men I know. Soldier, you are enduring the next phase of you kicking cancer's butt. How you feeling, man?
Oh man, this part of the week is better than the earlier part of the week. I'll tell you that, man. Early part, after treatment, I came in 8 hours, just knocked out, clothes on, Marv. Look, lay Marv, laid across the bed. Not even lay, not.
I know that. It wasn't because of that, but I know that kind.
Yeah, wake up and see my CC text from work. Are you here? So, right. You know what I mean? So, but this part of the week is better. I've been doing some nutrition stuff, some energy boosts and stuff. Like right after I come out of treatment, I'm trying to load up on some healthy stuff. So, you know, it's coming along, man. I appreciate the love everyone's been giving me because I definitely I need it and it's well received. So, thank y'all.
That's awesome. And man, listen, this news y'all get now about Shaka and the news I'm about to give you is the best news of all. Yeah, it was some things in the news today, the state's attorney's office, the school. But guess what? Bae is home and doing well. She came home from the hospital again, and she is well on the road to recovery. Let me tell y'all, man, this pastor, this man of God, got into space of spiritual warfare, realizing something was trying to creep up in my house and snatch my grandmother. I walked this house down with Psalm 91 and Psalm 51 to repent. Corner to corner. And opened up both doors and said, if it's anything that then creeped in there that's trying to snatch her, you got to get out of this house and set apart in Jesus' name. And I will tell you what we saw on the very next day. On the very next day, what we saw in her countenance, man, was nothing but the power of Almighty God. I'm just so grateful that he continues to restore her. My prayer has always been, God, you let her live as long as she wants to be here. It ain't about me, but if she wants to continue to be here, let her live. Let's get to these church announcements, brother. As always, we kick off the church announcements with the Stop the Beef hotline, y'all. We are making a dent in what's been going on in Baltimore City as it pertains to the beefs that's been leading to murders. I know some people like counting stats and watching the ticks. And as they count the stats and watch the ticks, they say, well, if y'all making a dent, why we still here? I say to them, won't you come on out on the street with us and walk these streets with us and see the dent that we making rather than being a social analyst, get up off the sidelines or do nothing and come on and hit the street with the Men of the We Are Us movement. We pool our own money and resources and put it together to try to make sure we can help somebody that's in trouble. And while we're out, we always carrying this Baltimore peace agreement. It is the brain trust of people who are in the game, people like myself who was in the game, people who want to see peace raise up even in spaces where turmoil and trouble and trauma has existed. We want to keep it moving. All right. This is the business of my beautiful daughter, Marche, my middle girl. She has stepped out, y'all. Listen, my daughter just sent me pictures of the assisted living that she's opening up. She's this step close to being a registered nurse, and she got all of her daddy's business prowess. She doing things. This is something that's focused on and directed towards kids. And if you have a kid out there that you want to get this, I think I may want to sponsor about 2 children myself. So if you got 2 kids, you want to get this training on September the 19th, hit me up. I'll sponsor 2 children. If you looking for a job, we looking for you. The Mayor's Office of Employment Development and Baltimore, same institution, 2 different brands. We got more work than we got people to put in it. I need y'all to get with us so you can get these opportunities. All of these flyers you see on both our Facebook and our Instagram. What we got next, Shaka? I sent you some stuff for the day. We got some, you know what, Shaka? I messed up again, brother. I sent you a second email that's got the community walks. On Monday, we're going to be in Park Heights. Again, the We Are Us men's movement still making a dent up there in the Northwest Corridor where so much of the crime is happening, that 21215. We'll be out there Monday. We'll get the information to you on the exact launching point, but I believe it's 4151 Park Heights Avenue, if I'm not mistaken, but we'll get that to you before the show is over. I want to move on to bring our first guest on the scene. This young lady, she hit me in my inbox about a book, and people don't realize you don't just let anybody come on the chop shop. So I went and I scoped her out. I checked out some of her social media posts and saw what she was talking about, and I said, you know what? This is so serious. I want to bless some people with this. You know what I mean? And it wasn't no plan to get her on the show or to talk about it. When she hit me, I said, listen, I'm going to do this, and you just give the books to some people that you believe will be best blessed by it. And she was blessed by that and said she wanted to come on the show and actually give away a few of these books. So with that being said, I want to bring on this published author, brilliant young Black queen, Miss Kenita Washington. Miss Washington, thank you for joining us today. How you feeling?
I feel awesome. It's a pleasure being here, even with your wonderful panel. Thank you, Pastor Marvin. Thank you, Shaka. DrKevin Daniels, he don't even know how he touched my life. I'm just glad to be on with him. How about that? And also, of course, Minister Muhammad. He doesn't know. I was listening to him on the radio one day, and he was preaching, of course. I got in the middle of his service. I was like, who is this man? I'm on the radio. I literally drove to his church, sat in the back, and this man called me out and gave me a word that changed my life. So I don't think I've ever had a chance to thank him. So I'm still in this 30 seconds to say, thank you, Dr. Daniels.
Wow, that's awesome, man. I like when it all, you know, back in the church, we would say it's in the vein. We in the vein. We in the vein. All right. Well, let's get right to it. Talk to the people and tell them a little bit about yourself and about this vision. Well, not really the vision, because the vision is now material. It's come to fruition. But the book.
How it all began was when I won the Price is Right show. This was an amazing experience. Not everybody can say they won a TV show, right? A game show.
I ain't never even been there, so they say you ain't win.
Pastor Marvin, God really set me up for a mighty blessing, and I didn't even know what I was walking into. I went with a girlfriend of mine because it was her family reunion, and they have the traditional family reunion picnic and cookout and banquet at that night. But every other year they travel together. So 16 of us, me included, we went to Vegas, and from Vegas we actually went to the Price is Right show, wore their t-shirt, won that day. But so many things transpired in that time. I had canceled my ticket because I said, you know what, this is not the right time for me to go. My son is going to be in Morocco. My daughter was going away. So I said, I kind of need to be home. So fear almost stopped me from going on this trip. When I got there, my wallet was stolen right while I was on the stage winning. So many things happened and so many adversities happened, but I had to push through and say, is that what I should be focused on? or the winning, the big blessing that God was allowing to come into my life. So this book talks about 7 laws, the laws of isolation, how you have to get alone and hear God. This talks about the law of release, the law of humility, the law of familiarity, just having the right people in your ear, because I was actually talking to someone at that time and they was like, no, I don't think you should go. I don't think you should go. Had I listened to that voice, and even the voice I was telling myself, I would have missed out on the blessing that God had for my life. I had to document this. I had to tell somebody, don't miss out on your moment. One of the laws is the law of determination. You have to be determined to win. We are experiencing a time now where so many people feel like they're losing so many. We've lost people. People have lost their job. We need a win. I mean, and you have to be determined with all that you have to. And I say to the person that's watching tonight, this book will bless your life. It's interactive. It's on Amazon. You can go on my website as well. It will bless. I'm getting so many testimonies that say, woman of God, thank you for sharing. Thank you for blessing my life, because I now have tools that I can win. So I'm daring people to win.
I love the title. I love that you made it, I dare you to win. And that kind of pushes us right to where I want to be as we begin to look at how we can bless some people with these books, right?
Yes.
Because you said the books, I guess they're the ones that I pay for.
Yes.
You're going to bless some folks with it, right? So this is what I want you to do, is tell the people, what do they have to do? Dare them to win these books right now on our show.
I'm going to dare you to win by liking, commenting, and sharing. If you can share with 5 people this show. And Pastor Marvin, you might have to tell me at the end, and they can inbox me or inbox you their address, and I will make sure they get a personal signed mail copy of it. So you can, even throughout this show, if you want to ask questions throughout, you have paid for 5 books. You've sown into my ministry, my life, and I definitely give, and it shall be given. I definitely want to bless your listening.
Well, listen, because you know how me and Shaka get down. We don't want you to just do the conventional share. What we want you to do is tag 5 people in the comments and get them on the show. And once we see you tag 5 people in the comments, we'll get your information and get you this book. I think I'm going to have to sow a little bit more, because now hearing what the book is coming from, I'm going to need to make sure that I get my own copy, because I was just going to be a blessing to others. But I thank you so much for coming on with us. Listen, Kenita, I believe that we need to sit down and talk a little bit more than just the 5 minutes that you've been with us today. And we'll look to get that book, because I had no idea of the background. And I would love to be able to sit down and unpack this backstory on the Chop Shop episode. And we will definitely connect to do that. So y'all already got the mandate. I need y'all to get in the comments, tag 5 people's names to be eligible. The first, are we doing all 5 books?
We're doing 5 books. 5 is the number of grace. So yes,
the first 5 books, y'all are going to be grace. The first 5 people to tag 5 people in the comments are going to get a book. And we're going to make sure that everything goes the way it's supposed to. Kenita, I thank you so much for being with us. It has been an awesome experience. And I'm a person of my word. We're going to get you back on here to do something a little bit more extended. You are awesome. I'm certain that this book is awesome. And I'm going to send you some more money, because I need to get my own copy too. I ain't going to bless y'all and don't get blessed myself. Thank you for joining us, Miss Washington.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. And have a wonderful show. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Y'all should be lighting it up right now in these comments. I see my personal chef, Miss Erica Mentioner. Listen, y'all, Mentioner Delectables is giving me healthy. Listen, she's giving me healthy meal prep.
Wow.
The Lord is the food good. My God. We ain't talking about healthy and you like, oh my God, I got to eat that. Healthy and the food is amazing. Mention the Delectables. We're going to get her on here maybe next week to talk about it too. But y'all light it up. Shaka, I hope you watching the comments. The first 5 people to tag 5 names in the Wichita, we are going to get you your own book. All right. That being said, it's time to get to what we came here to do tonight. Thank you so much. It's time to get to what we came here to do tonight. About a month or so ago, maybe a little more than a month ago, we had a conversation with 2 giants in the faith community, 2 people that I had the pleasure of being able to call brothers, big brothers, 2 people that from a brotherly perspective mentor me and have been very dear to me in my process of balancing both faith life and being an active presence in our community. I'm going to say that again. Faith life, leading the people of God in an institution, and being an active presence in the community. These two men personify what it means to have faith that does not have borders and that goes beyond walls, not just because they are out in the community, but because they cross all kinds of religious barriers to make sure that it's about what it needs to be about, and that is the people getting what it needs. The first one is the representative voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan here in Baltimore. He is the student minister at Muhammad Mosque number 6, located up on Garrison Boulevard. My friend and good brother, Minister Carlos Muhammad. Minister Carlos, thank you for coming on and being with us again tonight.
Oh man, my brother, Pastor Marvin McKenstry. Listen, whenever you make a call, my dear brother, I feel and I know that I'm obligated that as long as God give me the strength and prepares a way for me, I got to answer that call and come and be with my brother and all of the family on the Chop Shop. So I'm very grateful and thankful to have this opportunity once again, just to see my brother. And
yes, sir.
I will see Bishop Daniels, but to be with the Chop Shop family once again. So it's a blessing.
And with that being said, listen, this guy's a friend, big brother, mentor. He comes and he celebrates my anniversaries with me, but I was never able to get him on the Chop Shop and say, look, I'm going to sit down with you and Minister Carlos. When I told him it was going to be him and Minister Carlos, that was the first time I was able to get a yes out of him. He is the bishop and senior pastor at the St. Martin's Church of Christ. This man has been speaking life and blessing my life for the better part of 20 years. He really helps me to understand the necessary balance between the fiery aspect of me that wants to go out here in these streets and change lives, and being able to make sure that the balance is there so that I can be the leader that God has called me to be to his people. He is the one and only DrKevin Daniels. Doc!
What's going on?
Oh, man, listen.
My two brothers are in the house.
I don't listen, y'all. Listen,
hey, look, that's the triad. Father, listen, Son, and Holy Ghost.
Amen. Listen, audience, I'm gonna tell y'all right now: do not miss not 1 second of this show. You guys are going to be blessed, and my job is literally easy tonight. I'm gonna throw this one thing out there, and then I'm gonna shut up. And y'all do what we do on here. Y'all just give the people what they need. People have been clamoring, inboxing me, texting me, seeing me and asking me because we committed to do this again. When were we going to do it? Not just the information that was put out, but to show whoever is a part of this platform or throughout the world that might come across this broadcast what it really looks like for men of God to lay aside everything that is divisive, right? Or dividing, and the harmony and unity in which God allowed you guys to speak, literally almost finishing each other's sentences. The people said we got to have this again. Now, since then, we have this thing going on in Afghanistan. We've had another 2 hurricanes, one that looked just like Katrina. I need to turn this thing over to you guys and just begin to speak the oracle like you did in on the last broadcast. Help us understand where we are.
You know, Bishop, I gotta yield to you. If you let me know if you want to start first, out of respect. But if you want me to go first, I'll go. So you let me know. You want to start us off?
Listen, I'm just gonna say a quick thing, and then I know you're gonna tap this. I'm an Ezekiel man, and I just think that we have a battle in the atmosphere, principalities and powers, spiritual wickedness in high places, rulers of the darkness of this world. I'm a Noah man, where the days of Noah that are upon us. But I will say, as it relates to Afghanistan and even the climate change minister, and I know he's just going to finish the book with this. you know, going into other people's country, land, United States, and I want to be, and again, I'm just looking at history. We've never really been good at that. Nation building. We've never really been good at, you know, we will go in, imperialize a country, colonize it. And you can just look back at history when you start looking at West Germany, Japan, Somalia, Haiti, Bosnia, Kosovo, and even Afghanistan. You start to look at over a 10-year period what we've done. And as it relates to trying to bring democracy, I think we need to start at home and make sure that we nation build real good at home before we tend to try to nation build somewhere else. I think what is upon us is, and even when you look at our own country and around the globe, what we're doing in the atmosphere as it relates to the warming and the heating up of the earth, some of the kind of hurricanes that we're having, this disbelief in the fact that we are corrupting the atmosphere. Again, I was studying Ezekiel today, the prophetic vision of Ezekiel and the battle that we're having just from the spirit of the age or the spirit of the culture that we're dealing with. We are dealing with, Hegel talked about it, the zeitgeist, but Imhotep and several of our African priests and kings talked about it even earlier before then, making sure that we understand that the spirit of the age doesn't corrupt us, but that we get on top of this age. And that is the zeitgeist, so to speak. So again, I think that we have a battle in the atmosphere. I think we have a battle in the atmosphere that a spiritual battle that if we don't shape who we are at this point as it relates to the spirit of the age that we're in, we're going to be in trouble and we're going to be spewed out of the land just because of our own deeds. So I'm just, and I hope that didn't sound negative, but I really call this moment a challenge to create an opportunity. If we can't create a nation here in our country, how do we think we're going to go beyond? When you look at history, there's 7 case studies. We did a modest job or not a good job in nation building. I think we need to start here as well. We have a whole lot of issues that is upon us that we can do better and nation build right here. So that's all I wanted to say. Take it all away.
Listen.
Come on, Minister, jump in there.
Thank you so much for starting us off. And again, I want our listeners to know we have a great deal of respect for one another. And none of us have a monopoly on what it will take to raise our people. And so Bishop said it right. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, these spiritual teachers, not just of those that follow them, but have branched out throughout the world in terms of a voice, told us that in the book of Ezekiel, it talked about the great and decisive battle in the sky.
Wow.
And so many question, well, what is it? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that this is referencing the wars of nations with their airplanes and the dropping of bombs. But he also said that in the spiritual realm, through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, this battle, great and decisive battle in the sky, was for the control of the thinking of the people. And so the propaganda machine that the West uses and its allies use when it has gone around the world and has strived since the days of Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt, who established and took the 7th Fleet all over the earth with what they called, Bishop, you remember in history class, the big stick policy. And that America at that time was striving to be the political and foreign policy police for the world. Now, fast forward 2021, that has always been in full bloom. That the United States, I'm sorry if this bothers you, is a hypocrite. For how can you go and police the world and try to enforce on the world policies and political standards that you yourself don't give to your own citizens, though you got a document? And 2 of them, both in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, that violates the people every day. You don't stand up on the documents. And so now we see war brewing right on your own soil, not by the former slaves and their children who you brutalize with your police forces and with your wicked policies in the court systems, but you see anarchy brewing with your own kind now, that you're preparing for tomorrow and Saturday, once again, for what you consider to be violence and uprisings carried out by who? Your former slaves and their children? Absolutely not. So I think we have to look at the fact that we have what it takes among our people through the spiritual realm, through the political realm, and through the educational realm, that we must now get up and do something for ourselves or suffer the consequences.
DrKevin Daniels, I got to swing back to you because I think that I was actually driving today and I was coming from my church and I was thinking about the reality of the lack of balance as you and Minister Carlos has just spoken of, how we have so many people that don't seem to be attached to reality as it pertains to the spiritual, the social, or how all of them are so intertwined. What do we need in leaders in this day for people to have the real sense of consciousness that you're not running in one, with your sphere of influence, you're not running in just one area real hard, but that you get the big picture?
Well, again, and Brother Minister Carlos, listen, we didn't even talk today about Ezekiel, and he just zoomed right in on that thing, and he just took it to the next level. And you heard me say it. I referenced the book of Revelation quite a bit. It's one of my favorite books because even though John on the Isle of Patmos, he is on the Isle of Patmos, but yet he has a rendezvous with God himself in the spirit on the Lord's day, so to speak. And again, he was able to, even in a hard place, even in a rough times, so as Ezekiel, this was Babylon. This was a time, a period of captivity, but yet you have glimpses of, in all of the major prophets, you have glimpses of what is beyond space, time, and matter dimensions, and how to get beyond this particular time and see that God has already rescued us. God has already finished things. There are some things that are just present to us, but we are locked into this space, time, 4 dimensions, and unable to unlock ourselves and to go in and to see what God is saying. I would argue that, again, that we need a spiritual perspective. We need spirituality deals with foresight, insight, not only the ability to look within, but also the ability to look beyond, and to look beyond moments and to see through things. That is the characteristics of this whole age. And it continues to say it in the book of Revelation. He that hath ears, hear what the Spirit is saying. This is an hour where the Spirit wants to dominate, but yet and still we continue with our human failures. I go through history and look at from the very moment, even though some people say we got here in 1600s, others argue we got here before then. But from that very moment, we have needed assistance, and we have needed to been reconnected to the Most High. And I honestly believe that it is not until we find that moral ability to move into the realm and not just hear God, but also manifest a spiritual nature. And again, some people would argue I'm being mystical. No, I am not. I believe that faith, when you start to talk about what faith is, it is not just mystical. I believe that faith, there is a practicality to faith. Faith is a belief in something that you have rational reasons to believe exist. I'm not in this because I don't have rational reasons to realize. I look at the moon. I look at the star, all of those kind of things. And I have my own experiences, rational reasons to believe that God exists. But somehow or another, we've got to reach beyond ourselves and be able to tap into that. So spiritual characteristics, and I'm going to stay there, this whole age is about our reconnection with God, our reconnection with our power, our reconnection with ourself. And until we do that, it is going to be difficult to manage humanity in that way.
Minister Carlos, I'm gonna give it right to you.
Yes, sir. I mean, and as we continue, Bishop hit it. The book of Revelation is where we are right now.
Yeah.
And many spiritual houses, whether it's the mosque, whether it's the church, whether it's the synagogue, we've had all the prophets. We preach about all the prophets, the old prophets, the new prophets, the prophets that we don't even know their name, but we know that they walked the earth. We talk about the major prophets. We talk about Moses. We talk about Jesus. We talk about Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon all of them. We talk about Abraham. But the thing that we have to recognize is that there's a time coming when the mystery of God is going to be finished. See, what we don't want to realize is that the snake, so teaches my teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that serpent that was in the garden, that caused Adam, that caused Eve to come into the knowledge of something that they didn't know existed, which was temptation. See, God told them the truth, and so did Satan. Because he says, God is telling them, if you eat from that tree, surely your eyes shall come open. And how's your eyes going to come open? A deception came and spoke to the temptation, the natural temptation of the human being, to say, God loves you, so if you do it, he's going to have mercy on you. See, this is our modern interpretation of deviation. Now I'm going to something, because that serpent is symbolic of a mind. That serpent is a symbol of a word that is spoken into the ears of the righteous that want to strive, but yet are being pulled into a devious lifestyle. That's why Bishop said, see, it's our moral fortitude that we got to check today. It's no accident, Bishop, that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he would give these, wise ones, they don't give you a lot sometimes. They just give you one sentence. And look at what he said. In that day, it will be our righteousness that sustain us. Did he say the exact date of the day? He said in that day, meaning that we would walk into something where we would start to realize, as the children and the people of God, that we are at a point now where the whole world is losing itself. It's unraveling. And then we start questioning, well, how are we going to survive? Because we all in it. It's going to be our righteousness. So I close with this. By revelation, the serpent is a dragon. It's grown up now throughout the ages of time through prophets. Satan getting bigger, Satan getting bolder, Satan growing now to the point that at the end, you have a woman who's in travail, that is with child, and to give birth to a child that will rule the nations with a rod of iron. And it was said in the book of Revelations that she's standing on the moon.
That's right.
And then the serpent raised up its tail and pulled down a third part of the stars of heaven. This is a great dragon that is spewing out hatred for the messenger of God that's styled as a woman, that is standing on the equation, or that which equalizes the waters or the flow of things on the earth. And that messenger is pregnant with what? Not a real child, but pregnant with a nation. Yeah. A nation of righteousness, a nation of godliness that is on the brink of coming forth. But that dragon is right there to try and devour the child. So the scripture says the dragon spewed from its mouth a flood. And then the scriptures, correct me if I'm wrong, Bishop, that the earth opened up and swallowed up the flood. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told his minister, and he told us, he said, brother, do you know what that means? Do you know what the flood represents? He said, propaganda. So there's a propaganda being spewed against the spiritual leadership, propaganda being spewed against the righteous. And for every one of us that have strived to serve our people, now the enemy outright attacks our spiritual leaders, digs up dirt on our spiritual leaders, speaks defamation against our spiritual leaders. But guess what now? The earth, the people, the downtrodden, the poor open up and suck up the propaganda and push it away from that messengers of God that is giving birth to a nation. Come on, brothers and sisters, realize that in this day, the pestilence from heaven won't go away, because we have to repent and correct our moral fortitude, so that in this day, our righteousness will sustain us.
Wow. You on Live with the Chop Shop. We coming to you live every Thursday, and tonight we have two great men of God with us in the person of DrKevin Daniels and Minister Carlos Muhammad. Dr. Daniels, I got to throw this at you, because as I was leaving my church today, I rode through my neighborhood down in the Po Homes and just took me a little drive through my beloved West Baltimore. And I thought about how you have so many people who has change attached to the ability to get resources. But while they put value in resources, they've gotten away from the basic necessity of values. Values. I tell people all the time, when I changed my choices, it changed my life. I embraced a system, a value system that was different. At the core of being able to align with God is a system of values. How important is it? And I'm just loving tonight, because you are just in this practical place. Minister Carlos is in this practical place. But to get to the place where we even not to devalue the necessity of resources, but to equal or even make it greater, the understanding of the necessity for great values.
Well, again, I think, when you start talking about values, you start to you can look across all of the generations that we came up in, and you start to, and I started talking about that earlier when I talked about the spirit of the times, or the spirit of the age, or the spirit of this particular era, which is, of course, an invisible agent and force that's dominating, and all of us get the opportunity, even when you look at fashions and fads and all of those things, social media, instead of we making an impact on them, somehow or another, they're making an impact on us. And it is impacting what we say we value or what we lift as important. And that is happening. It has happened across generations. Whether that is the silent generation, whether that is the GI, whether that is the baby boomers, whether that is Generation X, whether that is, of course, millennials and the centennials coming along. Each generation get a chance. If values must be transmitted, number one, they must be transmitted from one generation to the next, and or even at that time of transmission, there is a time to also transform and to become even better than we were in the last generation. But we're definitely in a time where the times or the age itself has been dominating what our values and how our values, fake news and the lack of truth and what is truth, and being able to define those kind of cultural values. It has become, as most of us see, when I look at what is happening on the street, and thanks be to God for all of us that are out there doing this particular work. My heart fell when I heard the young men, and look at who's leaving. When you start looking at the census of the last 10 years, you start to look at the fact that out of all of the different groupings of nationalities, 12%, because of the way we are continuing to, we haven't grown as it relates to a people from 12%. We're still at 12%, while some of the others are at 18%, like our Hispanic brothers and sisters. And you almost have to look into that and be able to dissect and provide analysis on the fact of what is happening. We know that there are external forces at work against us, but we also have to understand, as it relates to value, there are also internal things at work. We must begin to repair both, simultaneously, both, and if we're going to understand a new value system in this hour. Thank God for the we, our, us, all of the brothers that we are participating, and we won't stop, we won't quit. We are participating and making people, taking people to the level of value. We've got to get our value, our uniqueness. We talk about that in churches. We talk about holiness. Doesn't just mean for us to look a certain way, but it is for us to be a certain way. We're in an hour where I talk to my students in school. There are 3 phases. Beginning, there is a becoming, but then there is a being. We're as we start understanding values, we must understand that this is the hour to be, to model what we're asking other people to take on. I challenge this country because we have not always been, and not the model of what we're asking other people to be. That's why you can go through 20 years and nobody in another country reflects who you are. They never reflected who they are, the country. And all of a sudden there was a retreat. So again, I would argue that we need to be able to transmit it. We need to be able to also model it if we want to see values. But then we need to be able, that means you got to spend time with people. You got to be able to spend time with people in order to get that done. So when it comes down to values and our uniqueness and understanding that, I think that it is a 2-pronged process. It is both external, but it is also internal as well.
Minister Carlos, I'm going to throw it right to you. You still there with us? I'm not sure if he's having any technical difficulty, but let me go ahead, because the next thing that I wanted to come is, right now we got 2 men of God that's on the screen, both quoting from the Bible, but for the external and the external appearance represent 2 different labels. Dr. Daniels, I want you to talk to us about how important it is that if we're going to really do the revolutionary work that's necessary to transform our communities, to transform our very own people, and to make the imprint on the earth that we're supposed to make, that we challenge the traditionalist perspective of things that divide us, to really get to a place where you can see 2 men of God who, as I always say, you guys are completing each other's sentences, finishing each other's thoughts, so that unity prevails.
Well, again, I think when you start to even look at the word theology, it is our attempt to really study and to know who God is. And all of us don't arrive at that moment at the same point, because there's no way that you can understand the divinity of God and not understand the humanity of man, in the sense that God is far bigger than labels, titles, all of that. And I still think, and I'm getting ready to put ourselves out there, I still think that we're in an intermediate or infancy stage of really knowing God based upon what we see in the country. And it's going to, and not just the country, but when you look at the right and the left, there is still an argument, even in the Christian faith, of what God wants and what he doesn't want. What if he wants both and? But that we're just not capable of blending them, nor do we have the will to blend them together, because we have profited from both.
Yes, Lord.
I believe that we have profited from being separated. And we have profited in order to do that. And to come together means we have to give up something in order for us to coexist. And you cannot understand Eshad when the scriptures talk about we are one. Again, let us make man. That word Eshad is something that we're still trying to figure out even to this day. The oneness of marriage. the oneness of a people. And I just think that we do not fully grasp nor understand the oneness of God, how there's a co-equal. In other words, no matter where you are, like in quantum physics, I am entangled with you, whether I see you or not. I don't need to see God in order for me to be entangled with him in the dimension that he lives. I am forever entangled with him because I am a part of him. I am at one with him. And I think that until we get that as a people, one of these days we're going to figure out who was right. But ultimately, until we get that as a people, we're going to continue to fumble these opportunities for inequities to be resolved, fumble these opportunities for racism to be dealt with, fumble these opportunities in voting, fumble these opportunities in economic equality, and understanding that you can be rich as well as I can be rich.
Listen, I'm not going to let you off the hook with that one. I need you to talk about the profitability of division. I need you to talk. No, that you put a little plug in there, but it's important.
I'm gonna turn that over to my brother.
You can put it either one, because I was having a conversation with somebody earlier in how the difficulty exists where you attach your livelihood to the revolution. When you attach your livelihood, when whether you eat or not is attached to that, it puts a whole nother pressure on you than what it would be otherwise. And I don't care which one of y'all ask, but we're going to talk about the profitability of division.
Go ahead, brother. Carlos.
Well, let me say this, because I had to come back in, but what I caught on the tail end of what Bishop was saying, I want to go back to that book of Revelations real quick, because we see at a certain point that there are seals being broken.
Yes, sir.
There's things happening. But when that seventh angel came and blew his trumpet, the scripture says that the mystery of God was finished. The problem with the country, the people, the thinking, remember, control over the mind, is that we've made God so divine, so big, that we don't even realize Satan has helped us make God unreachable, because we've mystified him, spookified him. So when Bishop is talking about this entanglement, that he doesn't necessarily, and we don't necessarily have to see God to be entangled with him, understand, dear believers, understand, dear brothers and sisters, that what Bishop is talking about is that God is omnipresent. Right? The mystery of God is finished. So my teacher said, we believe in the unseen, but unseen don't mean unreal. I want you to think now, because we're on a planet that's spinning at 1,037 1/3 miles per hour. It's 24,896 miles in circumference. It weighs 6 septillion tons. That is a unit of 6 followed by 21 zeros for those that need to know. Just say the earth is heavy. But unless there's an earthquake, none of us feel any bump in the flow of the earth as it rotates and revolves at the same time. So by what power is the earth upheld by? Do they draw it in class for us, Bishop, in science? They show us a globe with an axis in it, and it's saying that the earth is tilted 23 degrees 30 minutes relative to the sun so that it can move. But by what power? What's holding the sun up? You don't see a hand holding it up. You don't see a real axis through the middle of the earth or the planets that it's spinning on like a stick. But guess what? That unseen power is there. So how is it that God's presence can be in all of the creation, and then we get all spookified when it comes to the human being? In fact, the human being is the epitome of God's divinity on earth. How do I know? Because God would not give man the permission to rule over everything except he himself. He would not give power to the man Let us make man and do what? Give them power and dominion over everything. Is that the scripture? Over everything that creeping and crawling on the earth, the fowl of the air, the fish of the sea. The problem is Satan has dumbed us down and has spookified God when God wants us to listen to a message through those who he has anointed to activate in each and every one of us that God consciousness, that we are aware of not only the presence of God without, but definitely aware of the presence of God within. I close with this. You know, it is true that if we sound like we're preaching power, it's not that we ourselves are powerful, but it is he that is all powerful, that we are the witness bearers of God's presence in the world, and we are the witness bearers for real of the presence of God operating in man, operating in the human being. How do we know? Because I was spiritually and mentally dead. I was a wreck. I was backward. I was ignorant. I did not know anything about myself, my people, my culture. I did not understand God other than the spooky, mystified way that it has been given to me. But when a word came, a word proper, that allows me now to be entangled with God, while at the same time demonstrating the best of God for myself, my family, my community, and for the nation that's in need of spiritual guidance. How then could Ezekiel say that the God that's talking to him as he's trying to do his work, he's talking to the bones, right? And the bones are just rattling. We talked about this the last time. And he's trying to figure out what's wrong. Why won't they stand up? And the God tells Ezekiel, prophesy unto the winds. Speak the word, speak the truth, regardless to whom or what, because what's going to happen is like the wind carries pollen, like the wind carries all of those things that are blowing around to land to help do what? Feed the other vegetation, to bring color to the flowers. So in the spiritual realm, you got mighty men and women of God that are now prophesying the word into the wind. And guess what? We picking up on it.
Yeah.
Though I didn't know that brother, I just read a tweet from a pastor. I just read a tweet by the minister. I read a tweet by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, or this leader and that leader. And guess what? It resonated with me to be the truth because it connected to the God within me that proves that it's the truth. And how do you know that the word is the truth from the mouths of powerful people that God has anointed? Try it out. If the proof is in the pudding and in the result, I know where I came from, and I'm learning more now who I am and whose I am. And I'm saying to the devil, the Satan, or whatever you call him by, you can't get him back. I ain't going back there because that's
my God.
To me.
Man, that has got to be each and every one of our personal conviction. You are on Live with the Chop Shop. We come to you every Thursday at 6 p.m. This is our second installment with these two awesome men of God, and it will not be our last, talking to the one and only Minister Carlos Muhammad and DrKevin Daniels. I'm listening and I'm thinking about my own growth process, and I'm not talking about, because we can stay kind of invested in the transition from who we were when we were in the world, as most people would call it, or we were still yet active in our sin. But I'm talking about a whole nother transition where I'm recognizing that even what was acceptable when I was just a young man of God, as a man who's expected to be a man of wisdom, is no longer acceptable. We're in a nation that is competing with the best in the world in technological advancement, but we're seeming to regress in human development. And that regression seems no more evident than in our own communities. How important is it that we get back to human development, the growth of people, and we lead the charge by sharing our testimonies, much like Minister Carlos just did?
Well, again, are we in?
We in.
Oh, okay. I think that number one, in order to even understand community, you got to understand what it means to be communal. We've got to understand what it means. And again, we've seen external forces that's participated in the dividing of being community and or communal. We've seen it in our city. We've seen it in our country. We've seen all of the elements that reshaped what community looks like. And it is a challenge in this very time frame. But again, we've approached one of the things that I love about the laws of Newton's laws, in especially the thermodynamics, is the third law of thermodynamics: singularity, entropy. All of us will approach a single constant value of zero. So it doesn't matter. And what is happening even among disease in the atmosphere, even among what is happening with COVID all around the world, it is somehow or another our own sins, our own trespasses are bringing us to the point where we all become human, and all of the things that we have doesn't really matter, because this disease, and I'm not, of course, we have lost loved ones, but somehow or another, it is not until we hit the precipice. It was a movie that said that it is not until we hit a point of crises that we find our humanity. It is unfortunate, but it also says something about us itself. We have seen people helping people on the streets with food, all of that, but it is not until we reach the precipice, it is not until we reach the crisis point that we reach within our own will, we reach within our own soul and find our humanity. It is unfortunate that geniuses, it is unfortunate that intellectual geniuses can't find the will to commune with one another. Something is wrong with that. And if we don't straighten it out, the earth will spew us out, like in the book of Genesis, if we're not careful with some of the kind of things that we're doing.
Absolutely. When you talk about this potential in our people, our potential has to be nurtured. See? And when we look at nature, we see birds all the time. And they're out there pecking around looking for something. And we've been raised that these types of birds are always looking for some worms. Have you ever considered that no bird ever goes hungry? There's always enough worms. All the rest of the creation that looks for food doesn't walk around with a sign. Help me, we'll work, we'll chirp, we'll fly for food, we'll buzz for food. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm serious. Even the buzzard. I was blessed to be with the minister one time at dinner, and he was talking about the buzzard. And I know we be like, the buzzard? But look at the buzzard. Why did God put the buzzard on the planet? Since we think the buzzard is ugly, it's a scathing looking thing that flies up. But the buzzard is a cleaner. So when something dies or is on its death, it hasn't even died yet, you see the buzzards what? Spinning around. The creature hasn't even died yet, but God put the sensory in the buzzard, listen close, to sense death and wait for death to come out. And the minister said, then it comes down and it cleans up the carcass. Now, we're taught as human beings, you got to handle a dead body on a timing mechanism. You got to get it to somebody that knows how to handle that body to prepare it for burial, but it's time sensitive. And if we can't get there, they put you on ice. Why? Because of decomposition. What are you saying, Brother Muhammad? What I'm saying is the buzzard eats the carcass. And God gave to the buzzard a chemical that oozes down on its feet that sanitizes its feet so that its feet won't catch the death that it's eating. My dear brothers and sisters, the human being is better than the buzzard in the sense when you learn to know yourself and your relationship to your creator. We don't have to be out here circling around in the hood, preying on the weak, the timid, the elderly with guns and knives and extortion. That's not who we really are. We are the people of God. So in the Quran, it says to kill a man, to kill one man is as if you killed the whole of humanity. Then it also says to save a man as if you've saved the whole of humanity. That can't be one ordinary man. It starts with that if you try to murder the messenger of God and those that represent him, it's as if you've killed the whole of humanity. But if you allow that type of person or persons to live and go on, then they will impregnate the spiritual levels of the people, and humanity will be saved off of one voice. That's why the one voice of Jesus is important. That's why the one voice of any prophet of God is important. Why? Because once we're feeding on that word, what are we going to go do? You can't call Jesus the resurrector and feed on that word and not be imbued with the spirit to go out now to feed the hungry, to save the poor, to resurrect the dead, not from a cemetery that we bury our loved ones in, but we got to resurrect our people in the cemeteries of the hood with the spiritual power of God to show that where I was once in the gutter, like a piece of junk. That's what Elijah Muhammad said. I was like a piece of junk on the junk pile of black civilization, and God came and took me off and blew life on me and shined me up and put me back on the junk pile to show my people that if God can do it for me, he's certainly ready to do it for you. All you needed was an example. Such a man is DrKevin Daniels. Such a man is Marvin McKenstry. Such a man is Dr. Bunley and Captain Andrew, and every man that has stepped out even at least one time with we, our, us to go and do what? Give a smile, give a word, and even give physical food, physical jobs to our people. But you must be willing to save a people, because one man's voice has saved us all.
This show has been phenomenal. Before we do anything else, I'm noticing we got a little trend here, and y'all know I try to put people on the spot. We were on the third Thursday last month. This is the third Thursday of September. October 21st. Can y'all come back again? This third Thursday thing can be just us, man. A time for the wisdom and oracles of God. Can I get a commitment on the air?
Yes, sir. Oh, you setting us up.
God willing.
God willing. God, and then look, that's the only thing I want to stop it is God. If God is willing. All right, y'all. So y'all heard it here. God willing, we're gonna come back. This third Thursday thing, the third Thursday of the month, man, is a place where the wisdom of God is coming out from two great men of God. I want to thank both of them for being with us tonight. I want to thank you, Minister Carlos Muhammad, man. You are a constant word of wisdom and encouragement in my life, a brother that has linked up with me and stood with me in places where a lot of other people ran in the other direction. You two were the only two voices that were active when I made national news because of the situation between me and the police officer. You two were the only constant. You, Minister Carlos, telling me that if I wanted to come public and do a press conference, you and every man in the Nation of Islam would stand with me. You, Dr. Kevin Daniels, communing with me and continuing to give me wisdom as I navigated those waters. I forever will love you guys because of that, and will never let go of the reality that you chose to stand with me when others ran in the opposite direction. I also got to thank my right hand and my left hand. He's my main man, Mr. Shaka Pitts, on the ones and twos, making the magic happen. Always with Techniques 1200s, because anything else is uncivilized. Minister Carlos,
fire show.
Something about that, right?
Fire show. Fire show, brothers. Fire.
All right.
Fire.
So I promised you that we would come back with this information for you. We got these two community engagement walks on Saturday. This Saturday, we'll be at 1400 Federal Street, blessing the streets of East Baltimore. Like Kevin Daniels always say, we're going to be consecrating and reclaiming that ground for the good of the Lord. And then on Monday, we're going to be at 4151. I actually had it right. Park Heights Avenue for our Monday night engagement, which is a time that we come together and we have kind of sat the movement down in the Park Heights community. If you're a man, come out and be blessed, be a part of this, see what it's like to really go and touch the people that are so ridiculed and so criticized, and we don't really have the opportunity to get the chance to know. Next Thursday show is going to be fire. Y'all see we got this fire new artwork. That's credit to Dr. Shavonna Whitehead, who literally blessed us and blessed the show, and reached out to our graphics person and said, look, these guys are about a good work. Help them out. And man, this stuff that she has blessed us with is really a blessing. But next week, we're going to be talking to one of the strongest and consistent voices in Baltimore as it pertains to police reform. We're talking to about the one and only Mr. Ray Kelly. I met Ray and immediately embraced him as a big brother. He's a part of the Citizens Policing Project, one of the founders of the Citizens Policing Project. He has he served with me on the Civilian Oversight Task Force, which was a carve out of the consent decree. He also was the community engagement director for the consent decree monitoring team. And now he's ventured off to doing his own thing, but he's also a part of the new committee that's been formed by Mayor Brandon Scott to explore local control, returning local control of our police department back to us. If you've been hearing about that in the news and you want to know what that actually means, what they're talking about, you need to be here next week, because we're going to sit down and spend that hour with Ray Kelly. Don't forget, God willing, we got a commitment on the air these third Thursdays. I think we're going to even brand the third Thursday aspect of the show, because I get to sit down with Dr. Kevin Daniels, Minister Carlos, and I'm going to tell y'all the truth. I'm being blessed personally and just choosing to share it with you guys. So please, if you're a leader, please be a part of these third Thursdays and get the wisdom and the oracles of God that are coming. I ain't gonna say we giving them out, that are being given out to all of us on the Chop Shop. Thank you again, my guests, for being with us tonight. Thank you, Shaka, for always being a consistent part of what makes us great.
The winners. Don't forget the winners, Marv.
Oh, yeah. Put that tag back up there for me. We got 5 winners, and we're going to be turning this information over. Matter of fact, we're going to put you in a group message with Kanita Washington, because all of you guys are friends of mine on Facebook. And those 5 winners, as soon as we get the tag up, we're going to go back to the comment where Shaka put the 5 winners in. They're Erica Mentioner, my personal chef. Thank you so much. You blessed my life, woman of God. And listen, she's a woman of God, so that food is consecrated as well as good. We got Thais Knox, woman of God. Uncle Suni Rockmine, Erica Mentioner, Monya Smith, all the way from Georgia. Did we get a 5th winner or just those 4? Oh, Queen. Queen, I think that's Queen Esther. I saw her. I believe that's the full name.
There were 2 queens, but it was the first one from earlier. I know who it was.
Yeah, I think it's Queen Esther. Yeah. So we're gonna sort through all of this and make sure that we get this information out to Kanita. You guys can do what you need to do to exchange your address and all that sort of thing, so your book can come to you. Please support sis. Look, if you out there and you are a Black author, you are somebody that's about any good work, we do this every Thursday at 6 p.m. Get your information to us. If there's a space for us to bring you on to talk about what you're doing, we'll do that. But we definitely want to make sure that we're celebrating and supporting you, especially all of the black brilliance that's being published with so many local artists. That's right, y'all. We favor Baltimore around here, and we want to make sure that Baltimore's own is being put out front so that it can rise above and shine like it's always intended to be. Lastly, I got to thank you, our listening audience. I always say, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's around to hear it, does it make a sound? Absolutely it does. It just was nobody there to hear it. We could have did a lot of talking tonight, but you guys came out in big numbers and mass force, and you were here to hear thus saith the Lord from the 2 great men of God. In closing, I need you to continue to love Baltimore. The Chop Shop is a Baltimore brand. We hope to go national and all of that, but we love to talk about the good that's happening here in Baltimore and discuss what really matters in Baltimore. Trust God. The word of the Lord said, if you want to find favor with God and man, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he'll direct your path. While you being directed, get off the sidelines or do nothing, being a social analyst and complaining about what needs to be wrong and be fixed, and be the change that you want to see. Go out, grab a hold of some young person, the young person that's on your corner. You've been trying to pray him off. You'd be surprised what going down and getting to know his name will do in exchange for you trying to spiritually push him off the block. And above and beyond anything else, remember, family, we can be more. Thank you. I love you.
I can be more. There's nothing that I can't achieve if I just believe. You can be more. You can make every dream a reality. We can be more. Be more, be more.
Yeah.
I can be more.
I wake up every day and try to be more. I pray I be more. It's easy to achieve anything you believe. Like hold your head high. Girl, you got a reason to breathe. I see a rare mind. Boy, you got a reason to dream. Let's take flight. Give the children a reason to see redemption. We grow up in the jacks where it's evil and wicked. Where the people with success don't want to send you a visit. But we still finna make this life worth living. Now throw your hands to the sky if you feel it. Hey, throw your hands to the sky if you the realest. You got a vision. Let's put them pistols away and make sure the OGs keep the community safe. In the world where the ladies crying, the babies dying, I think we can create that space to make a way for the ladies to ride and make baby giants. Be more, believe, less play.